What is good, everybody? Man, it's your boy Jay in the building. We is back again with another video. Before we get this video started, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys share this video. Whew, we have the SWAC championship game, man. We have Jackson State versus Prairie View A&M. Now, I know Jackson State fans gotta be excited, but exhausted at the same time, because for y'all, for Jackson State to have this game being played 4 out of the last 5 years got to be insane, for real, for real. And it's played at home each and every time. Like 4 out of the last 5 years, y'all had this SWAC championship game at home. It's absolutely crazy, and it shows how dominant Jackson State really has been, man. And I'll say this: I'm hoping that we get a real good game, because the past 4 or 5 SWAC championship games, man, they've been all blowouts. And I'm real confident in this Prairie View A&M team that they can give us a good game. And listen, I'll say this: I think this Prairie View team is better than the team in 2021 and in 2023, because they play defense. See, in 21 and 23, well, in 21 per se, they were a really good offensive team, not so much of a defensive team. 2023, they were a balanced team, but didn't really do anything super great. But this team right here, this team that's about to play this Saturday, I think this is a very great team. And this is kind of like a mirror match, bro, to be honest with you, because both these teams could not only put up points, but could also stop you and play defense. Now, I'm going to do the same thing in this video like I did for the MEAC championship game, man. Now, first thing that I want to do is I'm going to recap just a little small recap of how both Jackson State and Prairie View A&M got here, man. Now, first I want to talk about Jackson State. Of course, they were named. They were predicted to be here. First off, they were predicted as preseason #1 poll in the HBCU football polls, #1, and they pretty much stayed there throughout the entire season. And I know at first it was kind of a slow start in terms of passing wise. I'm not going to say offensively, I'm going to say passing wise, because what's been consistent about this team is their ability to run the ball. They've been able to run, they ran the ball on everybody all season. From, it don't matter if it was Southern Miss to Hampton, to every team they played this season, they were able to run the ball. And what's crazy about that is, outside of Hampton, they have at least 40 rushing attempts on everybody outside of Hampton. But to piggyback on, move forward, Morgan, for me, had a slow start to the season. Just barely over 50% passing in his first 2 games. Offense, granted, they beat Hampton, but it was a struggle. And in hindsight now, it was a bad Hampton team that Jackson State should have blew out. And then of course they lose against Southern Mississippi. That's a wash or whatever. And then they play against Tuskegee. Of course, Lockhart gets the start against Tuskegee. Cool, that's a wash. But then Morgan picks it up. Next 2 games, he throws for 300 plus. And the offense have a monster game versus Alabama A&M. Over 700 yards worth of offense, 50 plus points. And Morgan had over 400 yards of total offense by himself, with 5 total touchdowns. And I think he ran for over 100 yards in that game, which was pretty crazy. And then the game of the year. It's still the game of the year to me. Alabama State versus Jackson State. And Game went back and forth. It was even throughout. Game went down to the wire. Morgan on their last drive throws a touchdown pass to go up with 44 seconds left. Andrew Body drives down the field, and the defense stops him on the 1 yard line, and Jackson State wins it. And so, that was still an amazing game, bro. And you know what's crazy about that game? I think the play of the game for me, to be real with you, that I think that really changed the momentum of that game was Quincy Ivory getting an interception. The fact that at that time, Quincy Ivory was top 2 in tackles for loss and sacks, and whoever the defensive coordinator is, they still call a play to where he drops in coverage, and for Quincy Ivory to get an interception where Alabama State was driving after they got an interception. To get an interception and then you get a touchdown off of that, I think it really built momentum for that team, man. But that was one of the biggest plays of the game for me. But, yeah, so Jackson State ends up winning that game, the barn burner, man. And then the unthinkable happens. They played against Grambling State in the Las Vegas Classic. Not only does, Morgan, not only does they lose to Grambling, but they end up losing Morgan in the process. And what's crazy about that is it's not even Lockhart that steps up first. It's Stoffel Parker that steps in, I think, late in the first quarter. And they only muster up 3 points at the time that he's in. So I think he's in from late in the first quarter to I think midway through the third quarter is when they only mustered up 3 points. So then here comes Lockhart. And, they don't get anything off of his first drive, but in the fourth quarter, he mustered up 2 touchdown drives to even go up one up until, Grambling State. Mind you, Grambling State's starting quarterback T-Set gets knocked out. The freshman comes in, and he makes a couple plays and gets them close enough to kick a game-winning field goal against Jackson State. So then after that game, now Lockhart gets named the starter. And his first 2 games are on the road against, FAMU and Valley State. And they end up not only pulling it off, but they end up blowing both those teams out the water on the road. So then now their last 2 games are at home against Bethune-Cookman and Alcorn. And I'll say this. This is why, Jackson State has got one of the best defenses in the SWAC, because especially Jackson State's offense being slow in both second halves of that game, they won the game by playing defense. Matter of fact, their last 3 home games against Bama State, Bethune-Cookman, and Alcorn State, the defense ends up closing it out. Alabama State on the 1 yard line, Ashton Taylor closed it out on defense. Against Bethune-Cookman, when they fumble the ball to get a first down to close the game out, they end up fumbling. Bethune-Cookman picks it up. A few plays later, as Bethune-Cookman drives, a pick 6 to close it out when they're up 8, and Bethune-Cookman had a chance to tie it up. Pick 6, close it out by I think B.J. Washington. Against Alcorn State, when they're getting ready to get set for a routine kneel down, the quarterback fumbles. Alcorn picks it up. Now they have a chance to win the game with no time left, and the defense closes it out. So as great as I talked about with Prairie View's defense, Jackson State's defense is just as good. This team, at least defensively, is really battle-tested, and I like how they pull games out because, listen, and they got some dogs on defense too, man. Quincy Ivory, like I said, man. Quincy Ivory, Jemiah Williams, Reed Pulliam, Ashton Taylor. Like, they have some dogs on this Jackson State defense, man. And it's pretty similar to what Prairie View has, man. And what's crazy and what's really good about this team is that they don't ask Lockhart to win the game. They just ask him not to lose it. And his last 4 starts as a starter, in terms of rushing attempts and passing attempts, 2 out of his last 4 starts, they ran the ball 50-plus times. Against FAMU, 56 rushing attempts to Lockhart, only 10 pass attempts. Against Valley State, 45 rushing attempts, Lockhart, 27 pass attempts. Against Bethune-Cookman, 52 rushing attempts to Lockhart's 12 out of 21 pass attempts. And then against Alcorn, 13 out of 16, and then with 42 rushing attempts. So they really do take the ball out of Lockhart's hand, and they run the ball because they have a 3-headed monster in the backfield leading with Ahmad Miller. And then you got, listen, this backfield, 3 different guys, 3 different chains of pace in the backfield, which makes it tough to guard. Because, listen, man, it's hard to stop. And I really do like this Jackson State team, and they've been great all year, man, and they've been a hell of a team to watch. Now, I'm going to transition over to Prairie View A&M. New coach, brand new coaching staff, Tremaine Jackson, coming from Valdosta State, just playing in the Division II National Championship game, and he brings some of his guys with him. Not only that, but bring some of the guys that played on the team from Valdosta State to Prairie View. And he did such an amazing job of recruiting. I said in the video, yo, this coach right here, I think he might have the best year because there were a lot of new head coaches coming into, not just in the SWAC, but HBCU football, period. And I said, yo, I think Tremaine Jackson might have the best year in terms of all of the new head coaches out of all HBCUs. And not only did he not disappoint, he really exceeded expectations, at least for me, because I did pick Prairie View second in the division, but I always said I would not be surprised if Prairie View wins it. And boy, they did it off of defense. And I'll kind of run down what they did, during the season. They start off the year with a game-winning touchdown by Cam Peters, throwing over 300 yards in a game-winning touchdown. And this was against Texas Southern. And then what's crazy is they even go through a quarterback carousel themselves, because after just the week after Cam Peters throws for 300 yards, he ends up getting benched in the second half against, I think, University of Texas Rio. And then so Tevin Carter comes in. Mind you, they're down, I think, 24-7 by the time Tevin Carter comes in. And they bring him all the way back, and they damn near pull the game out. So then now Tevin Carter starts the next 4 games, which was against Rice, Grambling, and they put belt to ass against Grambling. Then Northwestern State, and then Alcorn State. So Tevin Carter starts those next 4 games. And then, Tevin Carter is struggling against Alcorn. Mind you, Prairie View only won by 1 point against Alcorn, but defensively they held it down until the offense was able to get it together. So then Cam Peters comes in, and now Cam Peters ends up winning the game for him, and now he's the starter for the rest of the year. So he has a great 2 first games, and then they meet Alabama State. Now, this is where a lot of people disrespect Prairie View because while they beating everybody else, they look at this game against Alabama State and said, well, you can't even beat one of the best teams in the SWAC. How you going to beat Jackson State? And listen, they might be right about that. But I don't want to look at that game because Cam Peters probably had his worst game of his college career. The man Cam Peters threw 4 interceptions in the span of 2 quarters at that. Now keep in mind, his 4 interceptions came out of the next 6 drives. So he threw 2 straight interceptions in the second quarter, and one of those interceptions came in the red zone with no time left in the first. Mind you, they're driving, and he throws a pick in the end zone. No, matter of fact, they're on the 20-yard line, and they're getting ready to score, and he ends up throwing a pick to end the half. Then, at the start of the third quarter, now mind you, Andrew Body is hurt. So then Smoot comes in. So then Smoot drives on the field. They get a field goal. Mind you, the score is tied. I think it's tied. I think 21-21, I believe. So mind you, so they get a field goal. Prairie View gets the ball back. A few plays later, he throws a pick. Alabama State get a touchdown right after that. Then I think a drive or two later, Cam Peters throws another pick. And now, granted, I'll give Prairie View credit because they damn near pulled it out in the end. They missed a game. Well, they missed a game-tying field goal, and they ended up losing against Alabama State, right? So then, after that game, then the last 3 games that they play against Pine Bluff, Alabama A&M, and Valley State, and the defense woke up. Now, granted, y'all might say that they played against bad teams, but if y'all calling them bad teams, then y'all also calling Prairie View a good team because they put belt to ass on their last 3 opponents, not only offensively but defensively as well. They gave up 1 touchdown in the last 3 games. They put up 45 plus on Alabama A&M. Put up 40 plus on Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then put up damn near 60 on Valley State, which Valley State suffered their worst loss. Now, Prairie View got some guys on that team, man. Starting with Chase Bigman and McDowell in the backfield. Now, they're not as good as Jackson State when it comes to running the ball, but those 2 guys get it done. And I believe Chase Bigman is a second-team all-conference performer this year from what I saw. And they got a guy in Rockwell, one of the, if not the best receiver in the SWAC in 2025. The way he goes up and attacks the ball. Mind you, he's 6'2", 205, 215. Tall, big receiver who's fast, great at running routes, and is great at high pointing the ball. He had a game in which he has 8 catches for damn near 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he has the ability to not only leave you in the dust, but to march you up in the air. And like I said, man, the dog of a defense. Starting with Trevor Randall, you got guys like Darrell Sterling. Like you have, especially in the front 6. Now keep in mind, like I showed y'all their defensive formation, which is very different from the rest of the teams in the SWAC. Now their secondary, I think they probably have one of the best secondaries, not just in the SWAC, but in all FCS. And it's led by not only Trevor, but Eric Zachary at the cornerback spot that locks up at cornerback. Now, to get into this game was going to require from me, honestly, because both these teams can run the ball, like, and what carries with you through any game, right? Whether you're on the road or at a neutral site, is your ability to run the ball and the ability to play defense. And I can see this game being a low-scoring game. And I think this game, especially at the quarterback spot, is reserved for a veteran presence. And if Lockhart is starting in this game, listen, I just hope that both of these defenses prepare to stop the run. And I think this defense or this game is tailor-made for a lot of one-on-one battles on the outside. So I think Rockwell is going to get a lot of one-on-ones. Nick Rimber, Dupree are going to get a lot of one-on-ones. Ojo, and mind you, Prairie View has a lot of big receivers. And you know what? I failed to mention? I failed to mention that there's a lot of teams in the SWAC that are lucky, especially in this game where I think it's needed. Keep in mind, Jackson State has two receivers that got injured very early in the season that will make a big difference, especially in the passing game, in this game right here. With Fortillion, who was probably the number one receiver heading into the season. Mind you, I know that Nate Rimber is leading the team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns, but he wasn't the number one receiver heading into the season. It was Fortillion and Ty Henderson for that matter as well. Mind you, Fortillion is 6'5", Ty Henderson is 6'4", so they're missing two big bodies at that receiver spot the entire season that a lot of teams just forgot about. So mind you, where Dupree is 5'8" and Nick Rimber is 5'8", Prairie View does have a lot of tall guys, especially at the DB position. So I'm pretty sure Prairie View is they're gonna be aiming to stop the run, and they have a lot of guys that are gonna be playing in the box. So I believe that for Jackson State, they're gonna try to run the ball as much as possible, like they've been doing the entire season. But I think it would be disrespectful for Prairie View to roll out in a three-man front for most of the game. The way that Jackson State run the ball, it would be disrespectful to come out in a three-man front. You might as well have, Kennedy Parker as one of the DNs, have a four-man front, and just be able to stop the run with a few men in the box. This is a game where you're gonna have to trust your DBs on both sides. You're gonna have to trust your DBs to win their one-on-one battles, and I think this game is gonna require that much, and that's where the quarterback play is gonna come in. Because while both teams are getting ready to establish the run on key third downs, especially when it comes to long third downs, you're gonna need the quarterback to be able to make the throws, or even be able to use their legs. And I believe that Cam Peters, especially a veteran guy like him, I don't think he'll have a game like he did against Alabama State. So that's why it's hard to use that as a reference, because, mind you, I think Jackson State has a much better defense than Alabama State. Now, I think both teams, I think that the thing that Prairie View don't have to worry about is an Andrew Body on the other side, a guy who is dominant in running the ball and throwing. But I do believe that Lockhart is going to be able to make some throws. Now, I will say this. I think if Lockhart is playing in this game, I think Prairie View is going to make it very difficult. I think they're going to throw a ton of blitzes at him. I think they're going to throw a lot of exotic zone blitzes at him, and they're going to try and confuse him. And, of course, you know that, they're going to want to keep the ball out of Lockhart's hand as much as possible. But I do believe that if it comes down to it, with Lockhart making the throws versus a veteran defense like this one, I think it's going to be very difficult. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think if Lockhart is playing in this game, whew, oh man, I think Prairie View might. I think Prairie View wins if Lockhart plays. I think Jackson State wins if Morgan plays, because I do believe this game right here is built for the veteran presence at the quarterback spot. And listen, and even if Lockhart is starting at quarterback in this game, the thing that is going to work in his favor is that he has the best run game in the SWAC. Mind you, they run the ball 40 plus times a game. So as long as Jackson State keeps the ball out of Lockhart's hands and keep his passing attempts between 15 and 25 in the low 20s at that, I think Lockhart will be okay as long as he don't keeps the ball out of his hands as much as possible. And listen, time of possession is going to be important. Taking care of the ball and winning field position is going to be very important, because listen, I think it's going to be in the first half. I think it's going to be important to establish a lead, because now when the team that establishes a lead early will be able to rush the passer late. Now, I know, listen, both teams have a guy that can rush the passer. Both teams have it. Both teams have a really good run stop defense, and both teams can play the pass well. I mean, if you're asking me who I have winning, I have Jackson State winning. I do. But like I said before, man, if Lockhart is the starting quarterback, it's gonna be difficult. Things gonna be very, very, very difficult. Now, I might sound a little phony, but only because I think this game right here is such a mirror match. I think this game could really go either way. I could really see this game being a very low scoring game. I can see that. Like, I could see the first team to score 20 points could absolutely win the game. I can see that. But I think this game is going to be a hell of a game, and I absolutely cannot wait to see this game right here, man. I can't wait to see it. But listen, like I said, man, it's tough. It's tough to call, because I think this game is very evenly matched. But I hope for Jackson State's sake, I really do hope Morgan plays. But we'll see what happens, man. I can't wait to see it.